surprised because we don't usually have stuff like this in Virginia, and it's just like surprising that it's here right now. You know, sometimes, you know, people want to get their story out. Everybody processes things differently. I guess they'll figure it out in court today.
Hello and welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala. It is time now for today's Talkback segment. Each day we post a question on Court TV's social media pages. We gather your comments and questions and then respond right here on the show. Today we asked our viewers about the civil case brought by actor Johnny Depp against his ex-wife Amber Heard. Do you believe Amber Heard's attorney's claims that she is the victim of domestic abuse, or Johnny Depp's team's claims that Heard is the instigator and aggressor? Still with me is trial attorney Rachel Fiset. All right, Rachel, let's get to our first comment. And it comes from a viewer on Twitter who writes, Johnny clearly has issues with alcohol and drugs, but he has never physically abused anyone in his previous relationships. Abusers have patterns, and they just don't exist with him. And that's a very, oh, we don't have Rachel? All right. One thing I want to say about that, though, was that's an interesting point, because a lot of the patterns that you do see in domestic abuse, we're not seeing in this case from Johnny Depp. In many ways, according to the testimony today from the therapist, you see them with Amber Heard, the desire and need to control. Let's go to our next comment, which says, it's about the article she wrote, period, which never named him, and talked about how hard it is for women to be believed. So I can't see how it goes different than it did in England. And that's a very interesting point. All right, we do have Rachel back now. Rachel, I want to go back to our previous comment regarding it shows none of the patterns, because he wasn't abusive in other relationships, only the one with her. And while I agree with that, this doesn't really show the patterns of a domestic abuser, even within the relationship with Amber. I suggest she shows more of those patterns. I'm not sure it matters, again, because there is going to be, and we've heard proof already, that there was some abuse by Johnny Depp.
I agree. He doesn't have to have shown the pattern. And I think what the psychologists are testifying to, or the counselors are testifying to, and I think even the friends are basically saying, is these two really triggered each other. And so even if he had not shown that pattern before, or the relationships in the past were less volatile, I think what's happening here may be different. And frankly, this is a defamation case. And what has to happen here is the truth that she was abused and believed that she was abused. And I think that any kind of evidence that that was happening basically gets her there or almost there.
All right, let's check in with our next comment, and it comes from Rochelle, who says she has been surprised that what's come out against Amber doesn't look good for her so far. Now, I don't know Rochelle, I don't know if she's a fan of Johnny Depp, but I understand her comment, and I've always wondered how that was going to play out, because again, I wonder, Rachel, if it may, at least in the minds of the team Depp and what they're trying to show this jury, is that domestic violence, we think of that one way. Let's say one spouse hitting another, and it can be a male or a female. But when it's a shared problem, when it's a toxic relationship and they're both hitting each other, is that the definition of domestic violence? Does it come down to a matter of how this court decides to define, or how jurors define domestic violence?
It will come down to how jurors define domestic violence. I think the court will be somewhat instructive, but probably not get the jurors all the way there if somehow they believe if two people are abusive towards each other, that that is not the definition of domestic violence. I disagree.
All right, fair enough. I mean, again, I'm just trying to pick at things that this defense can begin to use, because again, we both believe that with the evidence that's put out there already, it's going to be an uphill battle for them. Now, we know the Depp Heard trial is getting a massive amount of attention, but what about the people that live in the area?